All right, welcome to Hoops Tonight here at The Volume. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope all of you guys are having a great start to your week. We're going to have some fun today, do a little film session on Game 3 of the Western Conference Finals. I'm really going to be zeroing in on Luka Doncic as a half-court shot creator. Regardless of who you think the best player in the league is, I do think it's a pretty safe bet to say that Luka is the best perimeter initiator in basketball in terms of like guy who initiates everything with a live dribble, brings the ball up the floor, kind of decides every possession within the half court. I do think Luka is certainly, undebatably the best in the world at that right now. And so we're going to zero in on that today, focus on some of his scoring, both in pick and roll as well as isolation, the way he handled blitzes, as well as just his passing out of pick and roll in general. We're going to get into that in detail today. You guys know the drill. Before we get started, subscribe to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel so you don't miss any more of our videos. Follow me on Twitter at _JasonLT so you guys don't miss show announcements. Don't forget about our podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts under Hoops Tonight. And then keep dropping mailbag questions in the YouTube comments so we can keep hitting them throughout the rest of the postseason. I talked about doing a mailbag today. I'm pushing that to tomorrow just because we're probably not going to have a film session on Game 4 of Pacers Celtics because I expect that series to end tonight. Also, no live show after Celtics Pacers tonight. I'm actually going on with Colin Cowherd. So keep an eye on the Colin Cowherd podcast YouTube channel. Where, we may end up stealing a clip from that to put on our feed as well. But tonight we'll be going with Colin. We'll talk Celtics Pacers, Wolves, Mavs, a little NBA Finals preview as well. We're going to get into a bunch of those details tonight. And then lastly, before we get started, I want to talk to you guys about Game Time. They have an amazing ticket buying experience. I got last minute tickets to a game at McHale Center to watch the University of Arizona men's basketball team play earlier this year. Got a great seat, got a great deal. It was just an all around great experience. As much fun as it is watching these games on our televisions, nothing's like being there in person, especially when the intensity is at the level that we see in the NBA playoffs. And we have some crazy stars that are reaching these incredible heights in these big moments. You got to get out to an arena and see it. Game Time has a great experience. It's not convoluted. You can check out in as few as 2 taps. They have all-in pricing, so you don't get surprised when you go to check out. You get a good view of your seat within the app, so you don't have to wait till you get to the arena to find out what you're paying for. It's just a great experience. They also have special deals. I love their zone deals. You can pick a zone in the stadium. They will pick the seats for you within that zone, and you'll get additional savings that way. Take the guesswork out of buying professional basketball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code HOOPS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code HOOPS. That's HOOPS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's talk some basketball. So before we get into the film, like I said, we're going to spend a bunch of time talking about just kind of going over the way that Luka picked Minnesota apart last night. But I wanted to give you guys some numbers. Again, a lot of the data, the analytical data gets updated later into the night as all the film sorting software starts kind of going through stuff. And so I don't really get to see the many of those details until the next day. The jump shooting numbers finally tilted heavily towards Dallas. This is pretty typical, right? In the playoffs, the home road splits for shooting. This was a big part of why I was so optimistic about Dallas, even in the middle of Game 2, as Minnesota held several leads throughout. It was like Dallas just wasn't shooting well, and they still seemed to be getting the most out of their half-court offense, and that was showing in the numbers as well. And so I was really pessimistic about any chances for Minnesota to turn the series around because it was inevitable that Dallas would shoot better, and they were already running better offense, and things were just going to tilt in their favor. Well, last night, Dallas got 1.47 points per jump shot. Minnesota got 0.89 points per jump shot. That's a little bit bigger chasm even than we saw the reverse of in Game 1, where Minnesota badly outshot Dallas. Minnesota outshot Dallas in Game 2 as well, just by a smaller margin. The pull-up shooting was outrageous, and this is where Kyrie and Luka can just kind of lift you to another level as ceiling raisers for their team. I talked last night in Crunch Time about how after it was 104-104, there was the big mistake that Anthony Edwards made, and that got into our film session, so you guys will see here in a minute. But he fell asleep on defense and left P.J. Washington wide open for 3 in the left corner. And in that sequence, that put them up 107-104. And from there, Kyrie and Luka made 3 tough contested mid-range jump shots, and Minnesota didn't make a shot until Anthony Edwards had that garbage time layup after the game was already over and they were down 11. And that was pretty much it, right? So like pull-up shooting is a big gap between these two teams in this series, and that Kyrie and Luka are just kind of specialists at it, whereas Anthony Edwards is a guy that has done it very well in this postseason run, but obviously doesn't have the background of consistency in that regard. And and it just was a difference maker in this particular matchup. The Mavericks attempted 23 pull-up jump shots last night and got 36 points out of them. That's insane. That's 1.57 points per shot. That is unbelievable efficiency on pull-up jump shooting from Kyrie and Luka. The half-court offense numbers, I went over them individually last night, but if you actually dig into it on a series-wide basis, Dallas is getting 14 additional points per 100 half-court plays than Minnesota. It's 108 to 94. The main thing that's keeping it somewhat close is putbacks. Minnesota has been far more effective scoring off of offensive rebounds. But even if you factor all of that in, Dallas is outscoring Minnesota 120 to 116 per 100 half-court possessions, including offensive rebounds. And so it just has been a gap that Minnesota has not been able to overcome. And it mostly comes down to the fact that Luka is just better at this. Luka is better at dissecting half-court defenses, really than anybody in the league, but certainly better than the 22-year-old Anthony Edwards. Any sort of pessimism that I had surrounding Luka Doncic's knee before the series going up against this Minnesota defense ended up being completely irrelevant. He looks fine. He looks healthy. He's going to get even more time off heading into the finals. So I think we can go ahead and move on past that specific issue, and we can evaluate Luka more or less as 100% of himself going into that Celtics series. And I think it's all very, very encouraging. But he was incredible last night. We're going to dig into it. I have this split into 4 portions, basically. We're going to go over Luka's scoring. We're going to go over some of his playmaking. A lot of the I have some clips and some data from Luka handling blitzes, which was something that Minnesota did a little bit more in this game. And then I have a bonus clip that's going to go over a specific breakdown that Minnesota had and one that I thought Luka did a nice job of identifying. On that note, let's go ahead and get into the film. We're this close to crowning a new NBA champ, and with the action heating up on the court, it's even hotter at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. There's only so many games left, and DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered with same-game parlays, live betting, odds boosts, and so much more. Don't miss out, or you'll have to wait until next NBA season to place your bets. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple, like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your squad, and place your first bet. It's that simple. The championship odds right now, as we head into the conference finals, according to DraftKings, Boston's at -150, the Timberwolves at +275, the Mavericks at +500, and the Indiana Pacers, a long shot, at +2,500. New to DraftKings, listen up. New customers can get a no-sweat bet up to $1,500. Just deposit at least $5, and you'll get a bonus bet back equal to your first bet if it doesn't hit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code HOOPS. That's HOOPS. That's code HOOPS for new customers to get a no-sweat bet up to $1,500 if your first bet doesn't hit. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. So we're going to start here with a basic switch attack. So as you guys can see, Luka's got Jaden McDaniels on him, and Conley is guarding Kyrie Irving, right? We're going to get a basic switch on a little screen here. Conley's going to end up on an island. Gafford's going to run up to set a screen, but Luka's going to wave him off. Luka's like, no, but he doesn't get it, so he has to wave at him twice. But then Gafford finally does go away, and then Luka just goes to work. From here, what I like about this too is like Luka just knows as soon as he's right here that he can get to any shot he wants. But in this particular case, he feels comfortable going to the step back 3, so he goes a pound dribble between the legs into a step back, gets plenty of separation, knocks down the 3. This next possession I thought was a really interesting example of using screens close to half court to get Luka going kind of downhill. So we're going to fast forward a little bit. Watch Lively stop to set the screen just at half court here. Boom. Okay. Now, Jaden's screwed already because we talked about this over the course of the rest of the series. But as soon as Luka gets any sort of angle on Jaden McDaniels, it's over because Jaden's not strong enough. So from here, Luka knows he doesn't have to do anything in terms of running action. Jaden's dead to rights. All he really has to do is wait for Lively to roll enough to take Gobert a little bit out of the equation, right? So he waits a little bit longer for Gobert. Right there, Gobert has now decommitted, and then Luka goes to his little step back jump shot, which he can get off over Jaden McDaniels anytime that he wants. So again, simple brush screen at half court gets Jaden into that sidecar, right? And really, if Jaden's not directly in front of Luka, he's effectively useless because Luka's too big and strong for him. And so that's like a simple advantage he's waiting for and targeting. And once he finds that advantage, it's basically over. Here's kind of a similar example. I'm going to play this at full speed first because I want you guys to watch when Luka identifies that Jaden loses his balance. So Jaden's full court pressuring, but Luka, one of the things I like about the way he handles it is just, I'm bigger and stronger than this guy. I'm just going to blow through his shoulder and get going downhill. Jaden does a nice job of staying in front, but in the process, Luka hits him so hard, he basically goes flying back to the foul line. So he's like, 16 feet from the basket now? And then Luka's able to easily step back for three. So now we're going to watch the whole thing in slow motion. Again, watch. There's full court ball pressure, right? It's kind of funneling him towards the sideline, but then he picks up straight up. Then Luka hits the gap, gets a little off arm, some physicality. As soon as he identifies that Jaden's lost his base and that he's bumped him off and caused that initial separation, he knows that he can easily get to his step back three. And notice again, a lot of times we talk about the footwork for step back threes on this show. And one of the things I talk about is like, it's more or less a straight up and down jump shot at the end, as long as you have the footwork to quickly reestablish your base. Notice here, I'm going to stop right after the move right here. Okay. So if I just press play right here, you wouldn't even know that this was a step back jumper. It just looks like a straight up catch and shoot jumper. But that's the advantage of having the footwork and the leg strength to get your base established. Once you make the move and get the separation, it's an easy shot from there. Another two-man game with Kyrie Irving. So similar to what we saw earlier when he was targeting Conley. This time he's targeting Nickeil Alexander-Walker. We're going to get a screen here, a rescreen from Kyrie on the left side. And then as soon as he gets the switch, you're going to see Luka immediately make a physically aggressive move towards the rim. One of the things, too, little detail, I talk a lot about with Jamal Murray in the last round in games 3, 4, and 5 about setting up your man for screens. So if Kyrie... On the first screen, Kyrie tries to set, but Jaden just fights over the top, right? So then you come back down here. Luka needs to create more separation than this so that Kyrie can actually set a good screen to force the switch. Watch Luka bump Jaden with like a little drop step here, like right here, boom. That creates the initial separation, that little gap right there, so that Luka can then dribble off and Kyrie can actually force him to switch. Now he's got Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Notice he immediately makes an aggressive move to get downhill, gets into that 15-foot range. Now he's going to go to a classic low gather, creates more separation with that little bump right there. See that little bump, gets the separation. Now he can just kind of trust his footwork going into the shot, extends the arms to potentially look for a foul, knocks down that little 15-foot jump shot. This was an interesting kind of subplot last night. Luka beating nail help with catch and shoot jumpers on the wing. So Kyrie's running action here on the right side of the floor. Look at Jaden McDaniels. Jaden is sitting down at the nail, effectively guarding this action 3-on-2. At this point, Luka's not a threat. But Luka's going to get down. And again, as you watch, Jaden's effectively double teaming off of Luka. And so Luka just makes himself available. Kyrie does a good job just kind of waiting for Luka to get open, and Luka makes him pay with the above the break three there. Again, like that is one of the most common types of help you'll see in the NBA because a lot of teams, if they're going to give up a three, they'd rather give up an above the break three. So you'll see that guy kind of sink down into the lane here and try to help. It's kind of crazy for Luka because Luka's taken 221 pull-up jumpers or face-up jumpers in this postseason run. He's taken just 37 catch and shoot jumpers. So it's a pretty rare shot for Luka to take, but he went to it twice last night. That was the first one. Here's the second one. Same sort of thing. Action, nail help, swing, beat it. See what I'm saying? So like that, again, if you're not willing to take that shot, then Jaden can sit down in here. You know, it's kind of interesting. There's all these parallels between the Kyrie Irving and LeBron James fit because LeBron was a very, LeBron and Luka are very different players, but they are similar in the sense that they're these big offensive engine forwards that take on the majority of the offensive creation. But one of the things that LeBron was really good at with Kyrie was he would space out on the opposite wing, and whenever Kyrie would work and his man would hang out, LeBron just got really good at knocking down that catch and shoot three on the wing, and it allowed LeBron to like rest while playing, but also be able to be a threat offensively while he's in those situations. This was a fun one. Anthony Edwards misses a tough contested pull-up jumper on the baseline. Luka gets a transition push, identifies something basic here. As soon as he grabs a rebound, he knows that Kyle Anderson and Karl-Anthony Towns are behind him and that Anthony Edwards took a baseline jumper. So essentially, he knows that there's only 2 Minnesota Timberwolves up the floor. He just makes a really aggressive dribble move and then stops on a dime. Once again, I talked about footwork and balance earlier. Watch this in slow motion. He's going full speed. Everyone's going full speed, but because of his leg strength, look at this. He's straight up and down on that jumper. That's so easy. It's an easy shot. He shot 47% this year in the regular season between 8 and 16 feet. That's like that short range that I always talk about that can be so deadly for players. Alrighty. This was some beautiful footwork in the right corner against Karl-Anthony Towns. We'll fast forward a little bit. The ball gets worked around, finally gets to Luka in the corner against Karl-Anthony Towns, right? This is a basic move. We're going to watch it full speed first, and then we'll go and slow it down. Jab step, step back, boom, 3. Now, what we're going to look at here, I want you guys to look at the each individual element of the footwork, right? So footwork element 1, the jab step. On the jab step, Karl-Anthony Towns takes a big negative step towards the left, right? Boom. Notice the second step for Luka is into the lane. So he jabbed right, and then he jabbed effectively left with a live dribble. That gets that secondary separation, and then on that final move, he covers all this ground back to this side. Now Cat is just closing out, and he's closing out on a 6'8" dude shooting a step back 3. It's just really difficult to recover. We'll watch it slow motion one more time again. Watch Cat bite on the jab step. Boom. And then that right foot there, see that right foot there? He's taking that right foot back into the lane because of Luka's right foot here. If Luka doesn't take that forward step before he goes into the step back, Cat takes this right foot out this way instead, and he's able to actually get a better contest. So it's really 2 moves. It's a jab step, and then it's a fake forward into the step back that gets Cat's footwork all the way back here. Now Cat's right foot is literally 8 feet from the basket, and Luka's about to take like a 22-footer, right? So now he's just sprinting back into the play to try to recover, but Luka's already going up, and it's basically over at that point. Luka has always had like a kind of like a creativity in his shot making too. Shoots a little bit of a moon ball there to get it over Cat's late contest. Big time shot. These last 2 are both really good defense, honestly, but just Luka just being a superstar. We're going to fast forward here. This is a transition cross match that forces Naz Reid to pick up Luka. And he does a good job. He picks him up, applies some pressure, gets back into his face. Luka just makes a really nice move. This is a good contest, though. I'm going to slow it down here. Again, in and out to the right. Gets into his body a little bit, spin. Drop step bump. That bump is key. You got to create that little bit of a, like this is something Kawhi Leonard's always been really good at too. Like instead of just turning and fading, knock him off his base first. Boom. Knock him off his base. Look at how far back Naz Reid had to go on that bump. So like when he has his feet established right here, he's about 14 feet from the basket, right? We get the bump. Boom. Now he's like 11 feet from the basket. And that buys that initial separation for Luka to get out. But still a really nice contest from Naz Reid. But those are just little details in ISO scoring that I've always found really fascinating. Like I find for me personally, when I'm taking a fadeaway jumper, if I actually dislodge the defender with a drop step first, I typically can go straight up and down as I turn and fade. If I don't dislodge the defender, then I have to fall out of my damn shoes to fade away to get the separation. It's just like a little detail that I've always found fascinating in ISO scoring. Big time shot. This one over Jaden McDaniels, I think, is super fascinating. Do you guys remember the shot? I'm going to actually go back and take a look at it. It was let's see what clip number it was. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, so clip 4. All right. We're going to go back. I want to show you guys this move. This move right here, to me, is the move that sets up the move that Luka's about to do. So notice how Luka is willing to, with his footwork like this, with his back kind of turned to the basket, he's willing to take that jumper. See how he's willing to like lean forward and take that jumper, where it's kind of like a leaning sideways. It's almost like a floater. This shot right here, it's almost like a floater, right? Lean, step through floater, right? That shot is the one that I think sets up this move against Jaden McDaniels. Let's go to clip 10, I believe it is. Okay, here we go. So as we get in here, you're going to see this is where I see that footwork taking place. So it's going to end in an ISO. They run a little ball screen, but it ends back in an ISO. 7 seconds on a shot clock. Again, right here, Luka starts to drive against Jaden. Gets downhill. This is where we're going to see that move. As soon as he stops, right here, see that's the fake. He's faking that shot right there. And as you watch, you can actually see Jaden McDaniels commit to that fake right here. See, watch. He lunges, boom, right there he lunges forward, leaves his feet, literally leaves his feet as he lunges forward. Back up a tiny bit more. Watch Jaden leave his feet on that pump fake, boom. Then Luka spins into the fadeaway. And Jaden still almost blocks it. But again, when you're dealing with Jaden McDaniels, who I've said I think is the best perimeter defender in the world. Now, this is a bad matchup for him because he's more of a lanky perimeter defender, so big, strong forwards are going to do better than him. And again, like matchups, we talk about this a lot, but matchups determine most of the things in basketball. It's not just stack your talent up against each other. It's like, what are the strengths and weaknesses of your talent versus the strengths and weaknesses of your opponent's talent? How do they cancel each other out or vice versa, right? But like, I think this is really fascinating. This is elite defense, and he still almost gets a piece of the shot. But that move I showed you guys earlier, everything is move, counter move with Luka, right? And that little extra fake, just that little fake right there, boom, gets Jaden off his feet and buys Luka just barely enough time to pivot over his right shoulder and get enough separation to knock this shot down. Might even have been a foul. Really impressive shot making from Luka. All right, we're going to look at some passing stuff in ball screens now. So this I thought was a really impressive play from Lively. This is a textbook high drop and tag, right? So we have Jaden chasing over the top. As he's chasing, Gobert's in a high drop, right? Up at the level of the screen. Derek Lively's rolling behind. It's kind of turning into a blitz at this point because Gobert's not recovering. So this is effectively acting as a blitz. On this play, though, watch Derek Lively seal inside because Ant is tagging the roller. Ant is doing his job. And I talked about this last night, but Minnesota did a much better job of tagging the roller in this game and conceding the corner shooter. But Lively, instead of just running into Ant on a roll, he turns his back and actually seals Ant. Look at this. See? It creates an angle. So even though Ant's there tagging the roller, he's dead to rights because Lively just catches and goes up and dunks it because he's, 5-6 inches taller than Anthony Edwards. Really impressive work from Lively and a good read from Luka too. Because again, that's just a higher percentage shot even than a corner three for a great shooter. This is just classic Luka. So Ant beats Josh Green off the drive. Luka helps. Derek Lively comes in at the last second and blocks it. Really nice defensive play from Lively. We're going to speed up. In the transition cross match, Luka's going to get Mike Conley. Okay? So now he's posting up Mike Conley. Conley, this is basic post-up footwork too. What's Conley doing here that you guys can notice? He's strong overplaying Luka towards the middle and trying to force him to spin baseline into Gobert's help, right? But Luka has seen this exact same coverage a million times. He's going to spin baseline. Gobert's going to step up. Easy lob over the top. No tag of the roller from Cat, not paying attention. Cat just hasn't been nearly as good on for all the talk about the offensive end. Luke's been Karl-Anthony Towns has been a disaster on defense in this series as well. Here's just a straight ISO of Jaden McDaniels that sucks Naz Reid into the lane. So you're going to see little screening action, back on Jaden, drive right. Again, once he gets this angle, you can see just that little in and out dribble. And I talk about this a lot, but like Luka is a player that all young basketball players should watch because of the way he sells his moves with every part of his body. Watch this in and out dribble. Watch how much he sells it with his entire body. He turns his entire body towards the left before he makes it in and out. And Jaden bites on it. Now he's dead. It's over now. He's given up that angle, the same angle I've been talking about all series with Luka. Watch Naz Reid. Naz Reid sinks into the lane. Luka just works a little bit longer, waits for the play to develop, kick out pass. Derrick Jones Jr. knocks down the three. And then back-to-back lobs here to end the game. One in the third quarter, one in crunch time, both with Luka, and a classic example of Daniel Gafford just rolling hard to the rim. You're going to see here, screen, Jaden's chasing over the top. Cat is in his drop coverage. One of the things a consistent issue that I saw throughout this entire series is a lot of Cat and Rudy backpedaling here. And the problem is when you're backpedaling, you're not as athletic as you are when you're loaded up. And so one of the advantages of having Gafford and Lively is like supreme vertical spacing threats. Even though Cat is staying glued to the roller here, it's just not enough because Gafford's just so damn athletic over the top. And so this is it's like being in no man's land as the rim protector. It's the worst spot for you to be. You're not bothering Luka. You're not bothering Gafford. And even Gobert has found himself in this position a lot in this series. You almost would rather just, if the lob gets off, it's a dunk, right? You'd almost rather just leave that responsibility to Naz Reid and just jump up high on Luka and try to deflect the pass or make the pass a little bit off target or something like that. But way too often they were caught in no man's land. But that's what Luka does. And this is why I talk about manipulating the rim protector or manipulating the low man. It's all about making them make the wrong decision. And in that case, Cat just made the wrong decision because he stayed glued to the roll man, but not in a position where he could actually do anything about it. I thought Naz Reid was slow on his tag there as well. Same sort of thing here on I think this one's on a dribble handoff. Let's see. This was the dagger. Ball pressure. Ball screen. Yeah, the dribble handoff was the last one. Same thing. You're going to see Gobert make the exact same mistake. Gobert's backpedaling, but he's backpedaling in a way that he can't actually stop either. And so he just dunks over him. This is actually a little bit of a dirty play from Gobert. Watch Gobert just shove him. But again, he's in no man's land. He's not bothering Luka. He's not bothering the lob. That's the worst spot to be as the rim protector. All right, I got 3 more clips to show you guys. And again, I want to credit Gafford and Lively in general there because that's the advantage of vertical spacing is it just puts you in a really tough spot when that guy just can out jump whoever it is you have underneath the rim. So the Timberwolves blitzed Luka and ball screens 7 times by my count on film last night. And but I would actually tweak this because I thought that clip that I showed you guys earlier where Lively got the dunk, I would still qualify that as a blitz. So I would disagree with the play sorting here. So I put that at 8 blitzes, and they got 2 3-pointers and a dunk. So that's 8 points on 8 blitzes. They still got a point per possession even on blitzes. And one of the things I talked about in game 2 was I don't necessarily think there's a coverage that Minnesota can go to that's going to work. And I mean, I thought last night was a good example of that. Minnesota played hellacious, desperate defense and blitzed them 8 times and still gave up 8 points. But here are a couple examples on buckets on those blitzes. Here you go. Gafford screen at half court. Here's our blitz. Easy pass to the roll man. Cat steps in off of PJ Washington. Easy kick out to PJ Washington in the corner for 3. So again, Luka doesn't get an assist there. He only had 5 assists in the game, but he generated countless shots, and this is one of them. Same sort of thing here. Luka's going to get the ball off of a dribble handoff in a screen. Blitz. Notice the difference in the way that this play develops. So as Luka comes off and there's the blitz, as Gafford slips, when Gafford slips, notice Anthony Edwards leaves Derrick Jones Jr. and steps up and guards Gafford. Then Cat drops a little bit to guard these guys 2-on-1. Notice Luka makes the right read. He doesn't force the ball to Gafford where he's going to be screwed with Anthony Edwards waiting for him. Instead, he just makes this simple read to PJ Washington on the wing. PJ Washington catches. He pump fakes. Cat rotates. Easy extra pass to Derrick Jones Jr. in the left or in the right corner, and he knocks down the 3. And then lastly, I thought this was one of the biggest possessions of the game. So Kyle Anderson misses the one leg fadeaway. We go out the other way. Let's watch the way this play develops. Kyrie waves Derrick Jones Jr. through. PJ Washington and Anthony Edwards PJ Washington and Kyrie Irving are on this left wing. Conley and Ant actually switch. One of the things I thought was fascinating here is Ant just has his back turned and he's not paying attention. And Luka just throws the ball to Kyrie because he sees him open as Ant and Conley throw this kind of like switch here. So notice like Ant's just in full chill mode now. He's totally relaxed. 3 minutes, 43 seconds left in the game. I don't understand why. And I talked a lot about last night. Like Ant I think he needs to lose to understand just how much more attentive to detail he needs to be in these situations. But he kind of signals with Conley. There's this interchange. Luka identifies the interchange instantly and goes like, oh shit, Ant has his back turned to everything. And Conley is not on Kyrie. So Kyrie catches, and it's an easy extra pass. Ant still doesn't know what's going on. Ant is standing in the paint, doesn't know what's going on. Extra pass from Kyrie to PJ Washington. By the time Ant realizes what's going on, it's way too late. And again, PJ Washington's been much better from the corner than he has been above the break in this series. Critical mistake from Ant. And also, again, like I think if you can actually see Luka's eyes light up, like, oh shit, look what's going on over there. Watch. He's just dribbling. Watch Luka's face. He's like, oh shit, Kyrie's open. And then he just throws to Kyrie. And then PJ Washington gets a good look. Again, like no need to make it more difficult than it needs to be, especially when that's probably going to end in a blitz and probably going to end up with the ball in the same place anyway. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. As always, I sincerely appreciate you guys for supporting the show. Again, remember tonight, we're not going on the Hoops Tonight channel. We're going with Colin Cowherd. So we might have a clip from that show up on the Hoops Tonight feed. Otherwise, go to the Colin Cowherd podcast feed. Also, we'll be doing a mailbag tomorrow morning. That's going to come from the YouTube comments on this video as well as last night's video. And then obviously we'll be back for game 4 on this series on Tuesday night. I will see you guys later tonight with Colin.